Hey y'all, it's Zoe here, your nutrition peer, back here at Nutrition Prep Notes to help you prep for the CNS exam. Today, we're going to be talking about your April prep note. So stay tuned. Okay, y'all. So in the month of April, it's really important, especially if you're sitting for the June exam. And then if you're sitting for the December exam, you'll be a little bit ahead of the curve just so that way you can pace yourself. I think that in the month of April, it's really important to, number one, master your micronutrients. Micronutrients are really important to know for the exam. What do you mean, and where am I getting this information from? The content outline. And most of what you need to know about the micronutrients is pretty much outlined in domain 3. And it may be highlighted in some of the other domains as well, but particularly domain 3. It's really important for you to master those and to know your micronutrients like the back of your hand. I really suggest that you take time to really learn them. Writing them down, making yourself flashcards, making yourself review card decks on Brainscape or Quizlet. Micronutrients are really important. And one of the things that came up when I hold live prep events, I talk to y'all and we talk about things peer to peer. But one of the things that came up is being able to distinguish between the micronutrients, the nuances, particularly the B vitamins. And so it's really important, y'all, as you're reviewing, make sure to make note of those distinguishing characteristics to where you would be able to tell one vitamin deficiency from another. Now, some of them, obviously, there's different times where one deficiency can mask another one, but the exam is multiple choice. So know enough about your micronutrients to be able to distinguish if they were to ask you something about, a deficiency, or if they were able to ask you something about a particular nutrient. Know how to be able to distinguish it from the others. And so I recommend that you make a list of your macro minerals and then you make a list of your micro minerals and you make a list of your vitamins. And so making sure that you know those things like the back of your hand. And so in Strategies for Success Pro, this is my personal study blueprint. I give you all a template to use to help you to do this. Now, when I was studying, I didn't have the nice template that I created for y'all. I just used a sheet of notebook paper, and I really made sure to really drill those and review them on a daily to weekly basis. And I really suggest that you all do that as well and find ways to maybe incorporate that into your everyday. But there's no way really around it. You're going to have to memorize your micronutrients. And if you haven't done that already, if you haven't started learning them, the month of April is the time to do it. The next thing I want to impress upon you is the importance of making sure that you're able to work through the nutrition care process, the personalized nutrition care process, which you learn more about in the scope of practice. And the next video, the next prep note, is going to be all about the scope of practice, so stay tuned for that. But it's a good time to start really making sure that you know how to conduct a nutrition assessment. That's domain 4. And really making sure that you understand what the components of that is and how to really work through that with the client. So let's look. So when you are first meeting someone and maybe say you've had a discovery call and it goes well, you want to work with this client, what information are you going to send to them? And then what information are you going to need from them in order to begin formulating a nutrition care plan for them? And so what are components that you need to know? And then how can you use the fundamental information, right, that you've been reviewing to help optimize their overall health? So be thinking through that process, y'all. What are the steps of conducting a proper nutrition assessment? What do you need to know in order to formulate a personalized nutrition care plan for your client? What are they doing? What are their current practices? And are their current practices harming their health? Or are there some things that they're doing well? And then how can you capitalize this on helping to move them forward? Since by this time we've talked about how in the month of March to really use that time to master the fundamentals and the foundations of nutrition. And so really at this point, you really want to be practicing that information and rehearsing that information. So here's the pattern that I suggest you use. Study, rehearse, practice, repeat. Okay? Study, rehearse, practice, repeat. At this point, since you're about a little bit over 2 months out from your exam, now's really the time to really make sure that you're studying effectively. So you already probably have some sort of a study rhythm by this point. And if you don't panic, but now's the time to really tighten it up so that you'll be ready to move forward into May, really wrapping up the content outline and then really performing some targeted assessments so that you're ready to sit for the exam in June. So, study, rehearse, practice, repeat. So the more comfortable you are with the information, the better you'll feel about completing practice questions and really moving forward in your exam prep process. And I really impressed that in the How to Prep in the Month of March video, because there's really just no way getting around spending time with the material and getting really comfortable with using the information that you've learned in an applicable way. And so some of the best ways to practice what you're learning as you're studying for the exam is practice questions. And in Strategies for Success Pro, that's my personal blueprint, I tell you the practice questions that I use that were free or low cost and where and how you can access them. I also have a blog post on my website about practicequiz.com and the specific question decks I recommend for reviewing for the CNS exam that really helped me review. And so y'all can check that out. I'll leave that as a link in the description below. But those really helped me. And in the month of April, as you're studying, you really want to make sure that you start practicing the information and that you're rehearsing it often so that way your recall is up to par and you'll be setting yourself up for success as you go into May. So this is the month to really set your study rhythm and to get a good rhythm of how you like to review content, how often you want to practice, and how often you want to rehearse the information. And so by now, hopefully you've gotten a feel of what type of studier you are. And so at this point, you really want to work on developing a routine, establishing your routine, and then executing your study routine for the remainder of your study time. This is a really good time, honestly, if you wanted to take maybe closer to the middle of this month or closer to the end of this month, like a mile marker assessment, just to see how well you're doing with grasping the concepts. And one way that you can do that really is by taking the information that you've been learning and maybe even creating your own quiz. Or if you all have access to study banks, I did not use study banks, you all, to study for this exam, but if you have access to that, definitely do it. Use that to your advantage if there's something you can use there. But also any textbooks that you have or old course material or old exams you have, now's a great time to pull those things out and really just review, especially the things that are in alignment with what you're studying. Now's the time to do that. So I hope that helps you all as far as your April prep note. This really is the month to really hone in, get a system for yourself so that you really feel good about moving forward into May. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So April is the month to really master your micronutrients. Make sure you know how to conduct a proper nutrition assessment. Study, rehearse, practice, repeat. Study, rehearse, practice, repeat. and then really establish your study routine so that you feel good about moving forward. So the more you immerse yourself in the material, the better you will feel about moving forward with the CNS exam. And I'm wishing y'all the absolute best. Stay tuned for the checklist at the end. And remember, y'all, it's time to prep like you mean it. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave me a comment in the description. Oh, leave me a comment in the comment section, and we can definitely talk about it. Talk to y'all next time.